Hey everybody, I'm Giles and this is Home Theater Fanatics. Today we're going to talk about one of the most important pieces of your home theater, and that is your source devices. Source devices are probably the most confusing aspect of building a home theater. There are so many different kinds, and today I'm going to tell you about the four, that's right, 1, 2, 3, 4, that you need in your home theater. So you've got your amps, you've got your speakers, you've got your screen, your projector, your processor. What's the one thing that you have to have, or the rest of the stuff doesn't matter at all? That's right, sources. Now, it might seem simple on the surface as, okay, I just gotta have something that'll play a movie so I can watch it with all this cool stuff I've got, but it's not really that simple because there are lots of different kinds that function in different ways that will give you different levels of quality. Well, today I'm gonna talk through the top 4 that I like, that I think really cover the entire spectrum of ways that you will want to get content from whatever that source is onto your screen. And to get started, we're gonna talk about the venerable disc player. I remember, gosh, this has to be 20 years ago now, something like that. It's been a long time. There was a company called V Inc. You might know the company today as Vizio, but back in the day, they were V Inc. And I was living in Southern California at the time, and I actually went down to their showroom, which I think was in Irvine, if I remember correctly, because they had a disc player called the Bravo D or something like that. And this thing was the bee's knees, I guess. It was awesome. It could actually play files. So not just, you couldn't just put a DVD disc in there and play it. You could do that, of course, but you could also use this thing to play files. I mean, it was crazy. This thing was top of the line, cutting edge disc players. So from there began my long journey with disc players, DVD through Blu-ray, then all the way into 4K now, and then, you know, HD DVD and all kinds of weird stuff in between. But the Blu-ray player, the 4K disc player, today is probably the most ubiquitous source that you can have. And this is source number 1 that I would recommend that everyone have in their home theater. The reason being is the quality is top notch. I mean, if you're going 4K, this is where it's at. And you can look at players such as the Panasonic line, which I really like. And I don't have a 9000. I've got an 820, I think it is. And I'm really jealous. I should go get this 9000. I keep telling myself, I'll just wait for the next one to come out and then I'll buy the top of the line at that point. But really, these give you a wonderful picture, and they even do tone mapping now. So if you want to deal with HDR and things like that, you can. You know, Dolby Vision, HDR10, all this stuff is covered by the Blu-ray player. Plus you get the experience with menus and other things to make it really easy. And then to acquire the content for a Blu-ray player is super easy too. You just go to Walmart or order from Amazon and it shows up at your house, or borrow it from your friend. That's the thing. Everybody's got a disc player, so it's really easy to get the content for a disc player. Cost is whatever you want it to be. I mean, you can spend $1,000 on a player if you want to, or you can spend $100, right? So there's a broad continuum of what you can spend to get really good quality. So like I said, the first thing that you should look at is a Blu-ray player. Now, once you start stepping out from there, this is where things become much more of the Wild West. So the Blu-ray player, like I said, it's a disc, it's standard. You buy it, you put it in, push the button, and it does its thing. It's not, you know, a lot that you can do with that other than just watch the content. Now, Blu-ray players can stream and those kinds of things, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, number 1, Blu-ray. Number 2, though, this is where things start to get interesting, because number 2 player that you should have in your system is a Zappiti. You might be asking yourself, what is this weird thing, the Zappiti? What is that? I've never heard of it before. Well, Zappiti is a dedicated-ish, I guess you would say, file player. Now, why is it important to have a file player in your environment? Well, I'm not going to spell things out to you super clearly, but there are lots of ways to get content that you want to watch that you might not have a disc for, right? And typically they come in the format of a file. And if you collect files, and what I'm saying is you ripped it, right? Yeah, you rip them. We'll talk about ripping later in another video, but let's just assume you're ripping all of your discs that you use in your disc player into files that you then want to play with a file player. And for me, having a dedicated file player is really, really important. And why is that important? Well, there's software built into the file player that will understand what your content library looks like and then organize that in ways that are easy for you to access. If you had to go and hunt and peck for a file that you wanted to watch, and they're all named these weird things like something SO1EO, it can get difficult, right? It's much better to have a graphical user interface on your screen so you can just do this one, go, and it's awesome, right? Well, that's what Zappiti does for you. And I like Zappiti a little bit more than Plex, which I'm sure everybody's heard of, or maybe XBMC. Maybe I'm dating myself because what is it called now? Kodi. XBMC was with Xbox Media Center. Oh man, that's old times. But you want that UI, so it's very, very easy for you to just kind of point and click on the video you want to watch, and then also for the software to say, okay, here are all these files, I know what this is, so I can show you a nice image of it and give you a nice graphical representation of what you've got in your library. So that is the purpose of a file player, a dedicated file player. It will look at what files you have, and that might be on a local disk, it might be on a NAS, and this can be television or it can be movies, and it will understand what that is, create a nice menu layout for you, and then let you watch it. And Zappiti makes it super easy because everything's just in one box. Now I'm going to have a video review of Zappiti, and you can watch, it'll be up there when it comes out. I've got the Zappiti 4K HDR Pro Ace, the Audiocom Cinema Edition, which is really really good. And you don't have to know how to install software or build a server. It's a box, and it does what it's supposed to do, and it does it really, really well. So that's the number 2 source that you should have in your home theater today, the Zappiti 4K file player. Now, we've talked about the first 2, and this third one, well, I think this is one that everyone is now embracing, especially in 2021, since HBO Max has got all of your new movies. And how do you watch these new movies on HBO Max? Well, you need a streaming device. Now, you can stream off of some of those other things that I talked about. The Zappiti is really Android, so you could install apps there if you wanted to. Your Blu-ray player likely has apps that it can stream with there as well. And maybe if you're using this in like a television room, your TV's got apps. Now, those are all nice and good, but I like to have devices that are dedicated to a certain single purpose. And for me, when I want to stream, there's a one go-to device that I like, and that is the Nvidia Shield. I've been using the Shield since 2015, I think is the first model. And the current models came out, 2019 was it? I think it was. And there are 2, there's the tube and then the regular box one. And I think it's the Shield TV Pro and the Shield TV. I would recommend going with the Pro, because it costs more and it makes you feel better about yourself. And if you ever did want to run Plex, the little tube cheaper one won't do that for you. So there are limitations there. So spring for the $50 and get the more powerful version, I guess. That's what I did, and I've really enjoyed it. And when I want to stream, this is the device that I go to. The UI is really awesome. Every app known to man, except for Tidal. Why? Give me my Tidal. I want my MQA music. I guess there's some limitations on how the Nvidia Shield upsamples music or something, and it can't do the high res. I don't know. But for everything else, the Nvidia Shield is your go-to. It does 4K, it does HDR, it does Atmos, it'll do it all. Now, it depends on the app, of course, and some apps support some things and some don't, but the hardware itself is good to go, which is very, very satisfying. Now, I can't vouch for what you might stream on the Shield, you know, vis-a-vis Wonder Woman 84. Oh God, don't get me started. I was so hyped up about the movie, and then I was so sad after I watched it. But so to get this back on track, the third device that you need to have in your home theater is a streaming device, and my go-to device is the Nvidia Shield. Now, that's 1, 2, 3 devices, and I promised 4, right? Well, the fourth is something a little bit different and maybe a little controversial, and that's just due to the cost. And when things get kind of pricey, people go absolutely nuts and lose their business because it's expensive. Well, this thing's expensive, but I am absolutely in love with this thing. I love it. Let me just say one more time, love this Source device. I'll give you a little hint. It's called the Kaleidescape. What is this Kaleidescape I speak of? Is it a disc player? No. Is it a streamer? No. Is it a file player? Kind of, but you can't play any of the files that you have on it. You can only play files that you download with it from the Kaleidescape store. So what is this thing? Well, this is a device that has awesome video quality, that gives you an awesome experience, makes everything super easy, but it just kind of costs a lot. I mean, you know, it's like that three-legged stair. You can have cheap, quality, and fast, but you can't have them all at the same. Anyway, so this one, super convenient, super high quality, but spendy. So let's talk about what this thing really is. So this is a box that's got storage in it, and that's much like the Zappiti, but it can't play files that you bring. It only plays files that come from the Kaleidescape store. Now, what does that mean? That means that this is a sealed ecosystem, meaning it's not a BYOF file, that you put your quarters in, you download your movies, and then you watch them in glorious 4K. And it's super easy. It's got a wonderful UI. It actually does scaling, so it makes it really easy to watch stuff on my 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio screen with a fixed anamorphic lens. You know, it does all that scaling. It's such a wonderful device. Now, you know, people get up in arms about it a bit because it's super pricey, and I'll let you guys go out and figure out the cost on your own. But for the experience that it provides, it's really my favorite. So the Kaleidescape is really cool because you can sit down, whip out your mobile device, go to the Kaleidescape store and say, hey, I want to watch this movie. This thing was just released. And you push the button and you buy it. And then that's where the magic starts. So maybe you're eating dinner or you're out at the store and, you know, the kids said, I want to see Thor 45 or whatever. Okay. And you just say, go. Well, by the time you get home, you know, this box will have gone out and we'll have downloaded the file. And this file is as good a quality as a 4K disc and better quality potentially, right? So you're not limited to the amount of storage that you can have on a Blu-ray. And you know, when you play a Blu-ray, you're really just playing a file, and the files are stored on the Blu-ray disc. When you watch a movie on Kaleidescape, the files are stored on the hard drive of the Kaleidescape. So people kind of are like, no, Blu-ray, something special. No, it's just data. It's just a file on the disc. So Kaleidescape is not limited by the physical media. So it can actually be higher quality, or the movie can be longer, or it can be both, right? So the file comes down, and then you basically just go to your theater, you sit down, pull out your remote, and push play. And then this thing spins up. And if you've got like a baller theater, this will integrate with your lights and it'll dim your lights down. And even when the movie comes to an end, it'll dim your lights back up. It can turn your air conditioning on and off. It can do all kinds of stuff. So this is really a top tier kind of source that does a lot of different things that other sources don't do, but at a premium cost. Now, it has become my favorite source. I love it, but for me, I need that whole ecosystem. So the 4 that I've called out are really, really important. So let's go over them. So Blu-ray player, and maybe there's a video up here for you to watch. I like the Panasonics. The file player, which is the Zappiti. There'll be a video up here to watch about that eventually. The third one is your streamer, Nvidia Shield. Here's a video about that. And then the fourth one, the Kaleidescape, and there'll be a video for that as well. So those are the 4 sources that I think everyone needs in their home theater. Kind of starting with number 1, you got to have it, to the 4th one, maybe you don't as much have to have it, it's just a like to have, but you got to have that Blu-ray player. You got to be able to stream, you got to be able to play files, and then if you really want to go next level, Kaleidescape. But there's a 5th source that I think everyone should know about, and you probably haven't heard about this one yet. It's something completely different, something new, and it's called the Modulus. Okay, so honestly, I can't tell you a huge amount about the Modulus yet because I've never seen one in person. Well, I think I walked by them at Cedia and I was like, I don't know what that is, and I didn't take time to stop, but I should have. But the Modulus is interesting because it does a lot of the things that these other devices do. It's got a disc player, you can use it to rip, it plays files, it can stream, but it's also a DVR, and it can also be a DVR for streamed content. So, at first I was like, DVR and streamed content, why? Well, there are a lot of people out there that like to collect video, and if you could stream something and at the same time you're streaming it, DVR it, record it, and save that permanently in your collection, well, isn't that kind of cool? Well, that's what the Modulus does. It's got all these features and functions, and like I said, I've not seen one and I've not played with one yet, but it seems like a really, really cool piece of hardware. Now, I've talked to the folks out at Modulus, and I hope to have my hands on one of these pretty soon so I can tell you all about it so you can decide if that's something that you might like for your environment. All right, so that takes us to the end. We've talked about the 4 plus the 1 bonus source of things that you need in your home theater, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. And if you have, please like and subscribe. There's a button right down there where you can push it, and then you'll be notified whenever I drop new content, which is content that you need to know about. One other thing, I've also got a Discord server, and if you're like, what is Discord? There's a link for that too. Go figure it out. It's cool. All the kids are doing it. And also Patreon. I've got 5 patrons now, and they are indeed the best people on the planet. I mean, these folks are awesome, and here they are. Bam! So thank you so much, patrons. I really, really appreciate you supporting the channel. And for everybody else, stern look. All right, take care, everybody. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next video.